Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett, as we await the next game day. Squeak! So how was your week, Maddie? How you feeling headed into game 5?
Yeah, it's been a great week. Of course, we record this on Thursday, and this morning I was able to give a poster presentation at the national conference for my profession. That was super fun, and just being at the conference today with my colleagues was just as good time, definitely. I'm really excited for the game because I'm going to be at the game. My dad is coming into town. My dad and my what we say stepmom, I guess is the word for that. My Kathy are coming into town to go to the game. It's the first NFL game I'll be going to, my first one, and also my father-in-law and one of my brother-in-laws will be along with. So just super excited about that.
Oh, I'm really happy for you. I didn't know. That is great that you get to see the Packers in your hometown.
So yeah, the stadium is 6 miles from my house, so not going to miss that one.
No, that is great. Oh man, I'm jealous. That sounds great. And we're expected to win, hopefully.
Barely.
but we can never take that for granted.
No. I mean, the Bengals are actually kind of good this year, which is like, as a Cincinnati resident for 7 years, it's kind of weird and good, but it's too bad they're playing the Packers. I'd rather see them just lose this week and win out the rest of the season, which is super.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a really close game though. We're only 3-point favorites in Vegas at this point, so I mean, it's a win. It's likely, but it's not guaranteed.
No, it's never guaranteed, but the Bengals are quite respectable team. It's been fun kind of seeing them come up over the last couple of years. And so where are we heading into football season today? Again, we're headed into week 5 of the NFL tonight with Thursday night football, the Rams and the Seahawks. I haven't checked in the last couple of minutes. They're about halftime when I got on here, but it should be 7-3 if I'm not mistaken, unless the Seahawks scored again. And that would be the Seahawks 7, and they're playing at the Seahawks.
That's a hard place to play.
It is very loud. The 13th team member, right?
Yeah.
Fans, yeah. So the Packers remain number 1 in the NFC North, woohoo, with some new personnel changes this week as a result of mostly injuries. So that's a lot of conversation along the Packers Twitter sphere about that. Mm-hmm. Of course, the Packers got the win we expected on Sunday. That was enjoyable. We're taking on the Bengals in Cincinnati. Woohoo! I am so excited you get to be there. I can't believe it's going to be game 5. So as usual, I will ask you, Maddie, are you excited and are you scared? And about the upcoming game, and how do you feel about everything at this juncture of the season?
Yeah, I mean, just definitely excited. And, I don't think it's going to be an easy win. I think it's going to be a shootout to some degree. How am I feeling about things? Really good. It's rough that we've lost so many people to injuries, or like at least temporarily for some of them. Obviously worried about Jair. Hopefully by the time people are listening to this on Saturday morning, hopefully we know more about Jair's situation. Hopefully he's in better shape than what we're worried about. Obviously we need him. But overall feeling really good. I mean, we're 3-1, so you can't really sneeze at that. There's only one team with a better record, and I mean, it's Cardinals. They're really good. We'll see what happens with them. So yeah, I feel good about stuff.
Yeah, that Cardinals Rams game here on Sunday was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one to watch, and the one where it kind of like the Packers, I think maybe the Packers 49ers after they beat the Lions, it was kind of the proving ground game for the season, where a lot of people were saying, well, we're going to find out if this is a serious team or not, or where they're at. Let's put it that way. So yeah, so tick tock, the NFC season is in full bloom. Really just jazzed that you're going to be there. There's victories, there's losses, successes, failures, surprises, and like you mentioned, injuries, unfortunately, for many teams and certainly our beloved Packers. So what do you have? What observations do you have to share with us from the Packers blogosphere this week, Matt?
Yeah, so my superlatives for the week, Dawn, I've got, 3 as usual, and I also have a moment of appreciation for a specific entity. We'll get to that, of course. My 3 superlatives for the week. This is kind of like the first one's kind of like a mega superlative. This goes out to Ryan Schlipp, Pack Daddy on Twitter. That's the guy who does the Packernet podcast. He had 3 different moments that could be their own separate, superlatives for the week. So starting with early in the week, he was talking about how to get the fans more excited in Lambeau. He had the idea of having David Bakhtiari chugging beers on the sidelines because people love that, and it would get the fans really crazy and excited. So I loved that idea. I think we should actually do that. I don't think the Packers will. They're a fairly conservative organization, but man, that'd be cool. So that was his first awesome moment of the week. Then Ryan was on one of my favorite podcasts, the Unknown Packers podcast. He was a guest this week, which was kind of cool because his podcast is just him talking, really to himself, literally. And so for him to be on with Bryce Christensen and with Niebels on the Unknown Packers, Ken Engle's usually on that, but he wasn't in for this week. To have him actually talking to people about stuff was really cool. But during the course of their conversation, he talked about watching the Packers last year as they kind of coasted to victory and got through things pretty easily. And then they'd hit a hard patch and couldn't recover and couldn't get, kind of up on their feet again. But he thinks he is seeing that more this year. He's seeing this grit from them. He feels like that is going to be a very important part of the team going forward for this year. And that's kind of the missing ingredient from last year is that grit. And I thought that was a really interesting observation. I mean, they didn't show it in New Orleans, but I feel like that whole game was really an anomaly. And I think we have seen that in, the 49ers game, and we saw it in the Steelers game too, for sure. So, God, even in the Lions game, I guess, because the first half was not going their way. So I think this team does have grit. I think it's a great observation that he made. And
I hope he's right.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, right. And the third little sub point here for Ryan Schlipp here was on the Thursday Packernet. He was talking about how the fans, especially on Twitter, have been overreacting to the Packers not getting Stephon Gilmore, and not being super excited about the people we did get. And he just did this really great job of putting things in perspective. And honestly, every podcast is different. Every podcaster has their own perspective and way of looking at things. And I find that the times that I most quickly run to his podcast before others is when I feel like I do want perspective, because he's really good at providing that. So in times when there's the fans are freaking out, it's let's go see what Ryan's saying about that. And so his whole thing was about just kind of looking at the perspective of Stephon Gilmore was a big name. He is a big name, but he was good and he's kind of been dropping off. The guys that we did get are, at this point, as good as Stephon Gilmore, if not a little bit better, and obviously a lot cheaper. So yeah, just that perspective that he brought was really great. So huge, mega superlative kudos to Ryan Schlipp. That was my big first one. The next two much smaller. My second one I want to mention here. Actually, before going to that, Dawn, do you have any reaction to any of that?
Well, I kind of sensed a change in the Packers team as well, and so I really like hearing. I did not listen to him or read him this week. This week has been a little dry for me on Packers material, but I like hearing that. I like getting that kind of confirmation that whatever it is that some of these things are intangible. I mean, we could get all the greatest players, spend the money just right, do everything perfectly, and you still don't have a team that gels and performs, right? So the intangibles in football and in life, something. So I appreciate him recognizing that and mentioning it. So I'm going to, and as always for our audience, we will have links to all of these great articles and podcasts in the show notes below the actual podcast so that you can read. And so I'll be looking forward to the show notes so that I can go back and look at these.
All right. So my second one then, Don. Should I get back into it then?
Yeah, get back into it. Sorry, I'm looking around. My cat is my kitten. Who's under my feet, and I don't want to step on her.
Your kitten is doing better this week. We're happy to report.
I'm hoping she makes an appearance. She's definitely hanging around me right now. So my kitten is doing better. She got on antibiotics. She's actually tolerating me shoving them down her mouth, and which is a big thing with a cat. And the probiotics are going so. And mom is the one, because I went and got a COVID booster. And so I'm like wearing 101 fever and sweating right now. Last night it was chill. So I'm the one who's been a mess this week.
Don, that's dedication to the podcast. Here's what that is. Coming in, feeling under the weather, but still putting in your best.
It is. That is how I am. I'm going to show up no matter what. I did, for those listening, just so you know, I wrote to Matt today and said, can you do 6 superlatives? No, actually, I said, can you do 6? And he thought I meant 6 o'clock. Because so all I could write, I was like, blah. And then I said, no, not 6 o'clock, 6 superlatives, I'm dead. And then somehow or another, I rallied and remembered what I wanted to say. But I was delirious last night with chills. And so much so that I couldn't think. Yeah, just like I was convulsing. I was so cold, and I was fine. Like I was fine until I wasn't, and then it was like, and then my arm, I can't move my arm. But we're good.
Holy cow!
Well, they said with the booster, I got, and so if anyone, don't let this scare you from the vaccine, anyone, because I had that kind of reaction to the 1 and 2 vaccine. Mm-hmm. And so the booster that I got for immunosuppressed and for Moderna is a full boost. It was a full vaccine all over again. So I got basically the same. I would say that I was sicker on 1 and 2, but my arm, for whatever reason, hurt like mad on both. I couldn't sleep the first night or anything. Holy God. So this is just me. It's not like everyone's different, and don't let that discourage you in any way. It's totally worth it. And for me, it's totally worth it because I can, do things and not, hide under my bed. I can go out with the vaccine,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, totally worth it.
All right. So back on track.
Yes, back on track. We digress.
So my second superlative then was most insightful. So Justice Mosqueda writing for the, I think it's for Acme Packing Company. I should have written that down. Pretty sure that's what it was for. Did an article about was Joe Barry used interesting nickel looks to get past the Steelers was the title of it. And it was really interesting because I don't know a lot of what to look for on defense. I'm still learning a lot more about defense, especially this year. And so to read an article like that really kind of breaks down like all the different things that Joe Barry's doing there with the nickel, it was really fascinating. So highly recommend that read. Yes. Probably retweeted that. Probably I did. So definitely worth checking out. It sounds
familiar because I feel like I might have actually read that.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think you had the pod retweet it with like book list, like the nerd face. So that's right. So that was a great article. Highly recommend. And then my third superlative, this is actually kind of echoing one of yours from last week because my third one is best question. So before I say what the question was and who it was from, I ask a lot of questions. A lot of times when somebody posts on Twitter like, hey, we need a question for our podcast, I'll try to think of one, best I can. I really like to try to put questions out there. I'm the askingest pigeon in town, as it says in one of my kids' books, So anyhow, definitely recognize and appreciate a great question. So for the Wednesday pack a day this week, Maggie Loney, like last week, jumped in with a great question. And her question was, your life on the line, you either need Steve to successfully intercept a pass from Rodgers covering Lazard or Dusty to sack Rodgers lined up against Billy Turner. Who do you pick? And Steve said on the show it was like the best question they've ever got. And the conversation around it was really interesting. So big kudos from one appreciative question asker to Maggie on this. Great question. Ooh. So, but apart from that, since you had asked me to do 6 before, I had a couple extra things, but of course, paring it down to like the best ones of the week. But I do want to take a second to just voice some appreciation for Game On Wisconsin. So, it's Game On Wisconsin is just like a little more than a year old at this point, and just the stuff they've done in this year has been amazing because they have like a live show on almost every night of the week. They have people writing great articles, a lot of great content. And I think I understand more now how much work has gone into this, because like with our modest little podcast, I see like it's a lot of work, mostly that you do, Dawn, to make this thing happen. And to think about like all that, Jacob Westendorf, who's like the founder, the head of the whole thing, it's staggering to me to think about how much work he's put into that. So just like, I personally appreciate that, because I love so much of the Game on Wisconsin stuff. I was a guest host on one of their shows like last week, for example. It's just glad it's there. I'm appreciative of it. They do great work.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
I love it. Oh, kitten appearance.
Yeah, how's it?
She's there. There she is. Sorry. I love it. Thank you for all of that. I love your questions and how supportive you are to others on Twitter, Matt.
Thank you.
And I think everyone loves that about you, quite honestly. We appreciate you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, that's probably why I asked you, hey, you want to do a podcast? Hey, you want to do a podcast? You were like, okay. Why?
Me?
Okay, let's, me. Okay, I'm going to make mine. Mine are pretty broad this week. So I want to give the most compassionate YouTuber for the week. And really always, I just think he's just the most empathetic, compassionate YouTuber. And the YouTube is called, channel is called Flemlo Raps. And Flemlo came to my mind because he's a Bengals fan. He'll probably be at the game. I'm not sure, but he's a Bengals fan. I don't think he's from Cincinnati. I believe he's from down south somewhere where they didn't have a team where he grew up. And he gave the story how he became a Bengals fan. I just don't recall all the details. I love that guy. I love his. Sorry, no, you cannot do that. She's trying to scratch my leather couch.
Donna's talking to her cat, not to me, just so everyone knows.
I've got my squirt gun. Anyway, she knows. So sorry about that. She's just today getting into that kitten phase where it's like I'm running around squirting her. Okay, Flemlo, empathetic. And so he's a Bengals fan. And so that's why I thought about him today. But I think I would listen to him almost every week. He writes, and I would say raps about NFL and college American football players. He talks about the players for the most part, their lives. So he studies both their lives and their careers. And he has just an incredible, passionate and compassionate perspective that he offers, very non-judgmental, very open. It's never condemning in any way, even when he goes into players who might have gotten in trouble with the law or done some crazy things. So where are they now? He's got a one series that's Where Are They Now type of thing. He has several different playlists, so you want to check that out. And whatever happened to, I think it might be What Happened To. And and so he's just really enjoyable. He covers everybody from every team, and he takes requests. So if he hasn't covered them and it's a player that you think is interesting and has an interesting life, or you're wondering whatever happened to them after football, he'll take that into consideration. And I'm sorry, I'm so distracted. This is why I wasn't a mother. Okay, so he'll take that in consideration. So definitely check out Flemlo. He is honestly the most empathetic storyteller I've ever heard. Really, he's great. He's just great to listen to.
Yeah, and Don, you've mentioned him before. I've been meaning to check him out, but like the way you're talking about him, it's like I need to check this guy out for sure. This sounds really interesting.
Mm-hmm. He is. I think you'd really like him. And by the way, we got speaking of my next one is the best play on words for the week. And last week I mentioned Away with Words podcast. I forgot the name of the podcast in the middle of my podcast, but I did put it in the notes because I of course remembered as soon as we logged off. But they did answer our question about Jaguars.
I saw that.
Jaguars. Yeah. So that was kind of cool. That was good. And you were right. You were right on the diphthong kind of thing. So yes. I thought you were. Once you said it, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Anyway, best play on words goes to Andy Herman. I thought this was really cute. Aaron Nagler of Cheesehead TV said something about just another week in the Green Bay Packers. Typical week in the Green Bay with all the injuries and then new players and all the discussion, shall we say, about all of that. And Andy Herman replied to his tweet, just business as Rasul instead of usual. I thought that was adorable.
Andy's good with the puns. He has a good pun game on Twitter for sure.
He is. I've noticed that. Yeah, he's come up a few times on my list. Doesn't always make it to the finalists, but he did today. And I would just want to say best NFL Twitter game goes to the Chargers. As you mentioned earlier, the Packers are a little bit more conservative and a little bit not quite in front of social media.
You're maybe trying to say less fun, but saying it nicely, right?
Well, I love the Packers. It's, more corporate.
Yes.
And the Twitter game that the Chargers has going is just so fun. Have you been following them? I love them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So there are several tweets I could share, but I'm just going to share that. Sorry. I just turned my screen off. So that's it. Most compassionate goes to Flemlo Raps, and that's a YouTuber. Best play on words to Andy Herman, and best NFL Twitter game to the Chargers, who happen to be doing really well. And I do absolutely adore their quarterback, who was, what wasn't he like offensive player of the year last year? Beginner or rookie?
He might have been rookie. I don't remember. He's good. Plus, they got a couple of Packers down there, former Packers legends. So
I know.
That.
Yeah, they're doing great. So what do you think?
I love that stuff. I mean, like I said, the Chargers Twitter is awesome. I love that. And I'm gonna check out Flemlo for sure.
Yeah.
Gonna put that on my to-do. Yeah.
I want absolutely. You to. And A Way with Words is a podcast. It's also a radio show, and it's offered by NPR.
Okay.
So you can find it online. Yeah. And
everywhere.
Yeah, like everywhere. Yeah, they're everywhere. But they are produced in San Diego. So I don't know if all the local stations carry, there's certain shows that you can get in certain, whatever.
Totally. I mean, like when I was living in Chicago, WBEZ makes a lot of shows, or at least did at the time. I think they still do. Yeah. We Don't Tell Me, This American Life, and a bunch of others. I love really great. So I was like, I always knew that they'd be on, our local NPR station because they were local there. So yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. And I was spoiled by that, growing up close to Chicago too. Mm-hmm. So I listened to both of those to this day. And there was a classical station that San Diego dropped a while back that I adored. It's out of New York. But I bet I can get it now online much more easy than I did.
Yes, the magic of the internet.
Streaming. Well, everyone, we appreciate you being here with us today, and we appreciate you joining us here. And Matt and I are both so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and to have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod, and we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Bye for now.
Everybody, after the game.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous you're going to that game.
I'm so excited to go to the game.
With your Kathy.
With my Kathy and my dad. That's right. Exactly.